Hello and thank you for joining us on Investment Trends today. This program is brought to you with the compliments of the Zambia Development Agency, ZDA, and of course the Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation, ZNBC. Now, on the show this week, we're building up on last week's topic of discussion, the Zambia International Investment Forum, ZIIF, which is slated for the 2nd to the 3rd of October 2018 at the Radison Blue Hotel. Now, as Jason mentioned last week on the program, the ZDA has partnered with Impact Capital Africa, ICA, to host this year's ZIIF, whose focus is on impact capital investment opportunities. So in the studio with me to help us discuss this and see how this partnership will further strengthen investment opportunities in the country, I have with me Dr. Chabala, who's representing the Impact Capital Africa, to enlighten us on their role in this year's ZIIF. Dr. Chabala, hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
It's good to have you on the program.
Sure.
And I think just like you are excited, we're excited as ZDA and as ZNBC, obviously, about this International Investment Forum that's going to be happening. But briefly tell us a little bit about the Impact Capital Africa. What is it all about for somebody who's hearing it for the very first time?
Right. Okay, I think the key emphasis should be on impact capital or impact investing.
Okay.
As differentiated from any normal, ordinary kind of investing. Right. So, we have a lot of foreign direct investment flowing into Zambia. It's a key measure of how our economy is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's mostly investing that's just looking for profit, just looking for a return. Impact investing goes a couple steps further. Mm-hmm. And starts looking at what impact business is having on environment, on social dimensions, etc. So what we're trying to do with the Zambia International Investment Forum this year is to not just bring investors that are looking for a return in any kind of investment. We want to bring in investors that are actually interested in the impact their investment is having on the economy of the country, well over and above economic returns. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and Impact Capital Africa, Zambia in particular, the way you can look at it, it's like a marketplace. It's like a matchmaking system. Right. So, any other international investment forum will just invite investors to come into the country, mm-hmm. attend a conference, perchance go on safari as well and go back wherever they came from. But with Impact Capital Africa Zambia, what we're looking to do is to actually find businesses beforehand, find businesses in the country that will then match with impact investors, so that at the conference that you've mentioned that will happen in October at the Radison Blue, we're actually going to be having almost a matchmaking consummation session, where the businesses we identify here in Zambia, the impact investors coming from outside the country, we bring them together and we consummate some deals. And we then, start looking at investing in businesses in Zambia that will have much broader impact on society and the economy than just giving profits to investors.
Wow, that's wonderful. I mean, so many times we've heard of how companies or investors have come through to the country and taken their profits and moved on and not left anything for the people on the ground or in the communities they're operating. So that's a very interesting aspect. Let's talk about.
It's an important point that Chilifia, that you highlight. Look, a country like ours, where we don't have any restrictions whatsoever on foreign, on taking capital out, on taking your investment returns out of the country. Mm-hmm. There's many an investor who would come in specifically just to make their return and expropriate their capital out of the country.
Right.
Okay, but what we're looking for here to bring into the country are investors that are looking to have an impact on the ground. Like I've said, environmental, social, etc. type of impact. Of course, they're looking to have a return on their money, but they're not looking to just make a return on their money and take their capital out. No, that's not the kind of investor we're actually going to bring into the country.
Okay. Let's talk about your partnership with the Zambian government.
Sure.
I know that you've taken on this partnership and, you know, wanting to work together with the Zambian government. Which other partners are you working with, and what kind of synergies are we going to be seeing?
Sure. So government in particular, the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry is one that we're working with, particularly because they obviously house the business sectors in the country in terms of the different industries. But the other partners we're working with are PEP Zambia, Private Enterprise Promotion Zambia,
Okay.
Which is a UK-aid entity whose role in the country is to promote SMEs and build capacity in those SMEs. The impact capital preparation work that has to happen beforehand is to prepare the SMEs to be ready to be linked to these impact investors. PEPZ has the experience of doing that, and so we're partnering with them to bring that experience on board. We're also bringing on board ex-gent events who are international event organizers. And the reason why we've actually gone for those is because they already have network and links into impact investors on the global scale. And with them, we see them bringing the investors to the party in Impact Capital Africa.
Okay.
Obviously, we're working with ZIIF, very cardinal to have ZIIF on board, the Zambia Development Agency, because that's their core mandate in this country. And we are trying to replace the Zambia International Investment Forum with Impact Capital Africa. And given this is successful, you might need to forget about Zambia International Investment Forum. We'll just be doing Impact Capital Africa as a way of bringing investors into the country that make a big difference on the ground. All
right. How have the preparations been going since the launch of this, you know, the launch of the business forum by the Ministry of Commerce? It's so much to do, so many people to deal with. You know, you need to make sure that everyone is represented, from the SMEs to the established businesses. How are the preps going?
The preparations are the crux of the matter here. If we look, one way we could have done this is, as I've indicated before, just announce that there's a conference happening the 2nd to the 3rd of October, and start going out there, preparing investors to come into the country, you know, preparing the venue and program, etc., in country. That's not what we're doing. The reason why we launched mid-April, mid-last month, is because we want the work to happen now, between now and October. The work of preparing the businesses in Zambia, that we can then matchmake with investors from outside the country. How is that work going? It's going to be ongoing work between when we launched. In fact, even prior to when we launched, I should actually emphasize that. Impact Capital Africa started work on the ground October last year. We are aware that the work that's involved of preparing these businesses so that the investors are ready is not an easy task, and something that you can do overnight. But we had to do some preliminary work even before we did the launch. Part of the preliminary work we've done is to actually have if you want, a website, an online platform, let me use those words, an online platform where the businesses that are ready. So if we identified a business today and we believe that this business is investor ready, we're not going to put it on a shelf somewhere waiting for October. We already start exposing that business to investors. And so we have an online platform we're calling Impact Starter platform, where we are then going to actually put these businesses on that platform that are ready earlier than October, with a view that on the other side, the investors could actually access this platform and look at these businesses. And perchance they may actually be able to start conversing and dialoguing.
Okay.
The clincher for us for October is if we can get a deal or deals signed that have already been developed prior to October, have them signed at that conference. That for us is the taste of the success of that conference.
All right. It sounds very interesting, and I was going to ask you how you're doing all this and ensuring that everybody is sort of, maybe lack of a better word, attractive to, you know, these impact investors that will be coming through to the business, the International Investment Forum. It's clear also that the focus of the business forum is to attract and link the local entrepreneurs who have an impact on the economy. So let's just go through again how this will be done to ensure that you link the right business to the right investor.
Right, yeah. So the key thing that I should emphasize is that the businesses here should be investor ready.
Okay.
So the investor is looking for a business that has ticked all the boxes in terms of it's an operating business, okay, what we call a going concern. We're looking for a business that has positive results in terms of its performance. We're looking for a business that's looking to grow. Okay, we're looking for a business that actually has the social aspects we're talking about already looking into those things. So if the business is doing an undertaking that has impact on the environment, impact on social dimensions, we will be keen on those type of businesses. We're looking for a business that potentially can receive an investment of up to, beginning from 500,000 US dollars.
Okay.
That investment can be in form of equity, or it can be in form of debt. It will depend on the circumstances of the business. Okay, that's on the business side. But we want to make sure that all the things like corporate governance are also in place. All these boxes are ticked. So that when we then expose them to the investor is not going to be worried about these, let me call them housekeeping issues. They'll be engaging this business to actually understand their strategy for growth, their strategy for how they're actually going to return the money, obviously, in due course. So we want to make sure that our work in preparing these businesses takes care of all the housekeeping issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So earlier you had mentioned that you're working with other stakeholders such as the Private Enterprise Program Zambia, PEPZ.
Yeah.
And you're also working with Musango Foundation.
Right.
How did these collaborations come about?
Right.
You know, obviously in having the same cause and, you know, trying to get to the same place.
Yeah.
How did this come about?
Yeah. So Musango Foundation is actually the founding entity of Impact Capital Africa, in the sense that Musango Foundation, which is domiciled in the UK, in London, and in fact I come into the picture because I'm a director of Musango Foundation. Now Musango Foundation's role, and particularly in Zambia, has been to try to help businesses, particularly foreign businesses operating here, to be more effective in terms of their corporate social responsibility.
Okay.
That was the initial objective. But in due course, we've been kind of exploring how could we actually do more. And this impact investing approach came upon us, and we thought this is something that we would actually build on. Now, as I've said before, it's not something that we could actually do on our own. So in putting together Impact Capital Africa, we reached out to partners that we could work with. In fact, we went through the British UK aid and DFID to try to find partners to work with, and they pointed us in the direction of PEPZ. Exigent has been, like I said, involved in setting up and hosting international conferences, investment conferences, and they have access to a network of impact investors. So they were a natural fit in terms of coming to the party. And so that's the three key parties that are involved in Impact Capital Africa from outside Zambia. It's Musango, Exigent, and of course PEPZ. The ZIIF, like I said, they own Zambia International Investment Forum. And we thought this would be a good replacement for ZIIF, given how ZIIF maybe hasn't been so successful in the past. And ZIIF obviously is under Commerce, so Commerce came into the picture as well, Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Okay, wonderful. So you have businesses that will be coming through, the big investors that will be part of that, and one might feel kind of intimidated. I'm here, Chilufya Mwelwa, running this business, it's doing well, you know, I'm paying what I need to pay to the government, I am registered, I have all my books in order.
Yeah.
what are my expectations as a small, business? So my question really is, what is there for the small and medium enterprises? What is there for them to, find at this forum?
Yeah, no, it's an important question. It's a very important question. There's no need to be intimidated. In actual fact, we've actually taken cognizance of that already. So much so that under PEPZ, we have investment advisors that, like I said, they've been on board since November, December last year.
Okay.
Their role is to go and work with the entities that we identify who may have one or two aspects not in place in terms of being investor ready.
Okay.
These investment advisors will work with those entities. Okay. The two investment advisors we're working with at the moment is Kukula Capital and Open Capital Advisors. So under PEPZ, those who work with the SMEs. We believe that before the SME even comes forward to the conference, if they're interested, they could contact ZIIF or contact PEPZ, and if there's work to be done in terms of preparing them, those investment advisors could work with them to prepare them. But even if they didn't actually go through this, they came forward to the conference, they came through to the conference in October, we'll be able to work with them even there, because we're going to have different formats of the conference, where we might even have some kind of a Dragon's Den type environment, where some of these businesses could come and pitch to some of those investors in terms of interesting the investors in their businesses.
All right.
Yeah.
So obviously, for one to be part of the forum, you need to apply, you need to register, get your details out there so that they decide whether or not you can come. Let's talk about the application process and what goes into assessing and picking somebody to be part of the business forum. Yeah.
So the two key players obviously is the businesses that we're looking to invest in, and the investors. The investors, we're mostly going to look at the Global Impact Investment Network to bring members of that on board. But for the businesses in country, one of the key issues obviously is to contact either ZIIF or PEPZ, as I said, to express interest to be part of this process. It's important to be part of the process and not just wait for the conference to arrive in October. The criteria, like I said before, needs to be a going concern, needs to be a business that's operational. It needs to be a business that, from a governance point of view, ticks all the boxes. So, as we've said, they do their returns, they file their returns on time. It must be a business that's viable as well. If the business already has demonstrable impact, social, environmental, even better. They shouldn't worry so much about size for now, for as long as we tick those boxes. If they are able to gauge the size of investment they could be looking for, and it does meet the 500,000 minimum, $500,000 minimum ticket, well and good. But if it doesn't, not worry, because like I said, we're going to have packages that even suit the businesses that are looking for smaller investments than $500,000. Okay,
I think that's my favorite part so far. Yeah. Have packages that speak to those that cannot reach that amount. Yeah. Wonderful. What kind of deals do you expect to be signed before, during, and after the business forum, the Zambia International Investment Forum?
Yeah. So primarily the deals are going to be matching the investor with the business in Zambia, and the investor obviously taking a stake if it's equity, or extending debt into the business. If it's debt, that's the ideal instrument that's needed. The deal will obviously involve the investor wanting to maybe have a role in the business, maybe in terms of governance structures. If they themselves don't do that, having a proxy in country that can actually do that for them. Then there's certainly going to be need for some sort of returns, some sort of report back to investors. We envisage a situation where there's a number of investors this side. There's 4, 5, 10 investors. Okay,
Right.
there's 12 entities this side that have been invested into, and there's all sorts of crossing of this one is invested in here, this one is invested in there, and there may be some need to have an entity in country that actually is the face of all the investors. Okay, that then actually does the work of working with entities in country to follow up on the investments that have been made, the date that has been extended, and how that is performing. We envisage having a structure like that in place, because then you don't have a situation where so many investors chasing so many different deals, some multiple deals.
Yes.
It would be ideal to have one entry point. So this is the natural evolution of this process that we're involved in.
All right. What kind of projects and what kind of sectors are you focusing on as you invite these impact investors, as you invite the local Zambian investors? What areas are you looking at to say that this could be good, it would benefit the investor, it would benefit the community, the nation, in terms of this thing growing and becoming bigger?
Yeah. So naturally, things that would have demonstrable environmental social impact, businesses that are involved in that will be the sectors we'll be looking for primarily.
Okay. So
clean energy, for instance, or renewable energy would be a good example. Agriculture and agro-processing would be another example. Even businesses that today may not look amenable to impact investing, we might actually consider looking into them to look at how we might need to think about how they might operate differently, and to start having positive impact on the environment. So I'm thinking in particular about mining, which may not necessarily look environmentally friendly to begin with. We're thinking of also trying to interest that sector into receiving impact investment, so that it might actually start operating in more environmentally friendly, more socially friendly way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. How many delegates are you supposedly expecting as we wrap up, Doctor?
Yeah. So if we had 250 delegates, we would think that we've actually got good attendance to the conference. But and we think that's actually a good critical number. More than that might be unwieldy.
Chaos.
Less than that might be too small.
Okay.
But I should also, before I go off, mention that we're also looking for if there are entities actually out there that want to be sponsors in a particular sector, looking at a particular social dimension, that want to actually come on board as sponsors to be part of Impact Capital Africa, Zambia, that we're also looking for sponsors to work with us to make this thing even much more successful and even much more impactful.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming through, Dr. Chabala.
Yeah,
it's
you're
been
welcome.
a pleasure having you on the show today.
I've enjoyed it immensely.
We wish you all the
Hopefully
best as you get ready for the International Investment Forum, the Zambia International Investment Forum.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to you being there as well.
Yes, we'll definitely be there.
Hopefully
we could have a live program or two right there, so that we allow the investors and the local investors to be able to chat and see how that will be.
Let's not say we look forward to. Let's say we are definitely going to have some live programming.
We're definitely going to try and speak to our producer so that we can get that opportunity to come and speak to the investors.
Sure.
Well, this is where our program comes to an end. I was talking to Dr. Wala Chabala, who was representing or is representing Impact Capital Africa, and he was just giving us the breakdown of the partnership with ZDA and of course the Zambian government and many other stakeholders like PEP Zambia, PEP Z, who are also working to ensure that we have a successful international investment forum. Thank you for watching. From the entire production team, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.